How do you find gigs and jobs? When did you start filming and why did you start?
Resume barely matters.
Just because you got a no now doesn't mean it's a no in the future.
It's just about storytelling, no matter if your team's winning games or losing games. And there's always a story to be told. How to shoot any sport anywhere. My best bang for your buck camera for like the image it can produce, in my opinion, is
What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. And as you can tell, a bit of a different setup right now. We aren't in my bedroom. We're in your office. Everyone, if you guys aren't familiar, this is Peter Sarellas. I'll let him introduce himself in a second, but he's a very good friend, a frequent on my channel a handful of times, a very good colleague, and he's graciously lent us his space to record a couple of YouTube videos today. We just did one for your channel. This one, you're obviously on my channel. Peter, give a little intro for the people who don't know you. And if you don't know Peter, you're living under a rock, my friends.
Well, here, let me take these off. I don't need to monitor the audio anymore. But hey, everyone. Nice to meet you all. If you don't know who I am, or if you know who I am, then funny seeing you here. My name is Peter Sarellas. I'm a sports videographer and video editor from Toronto Camera.
What did he say?
Hey, so I'm a sports videographer from Toronto, Canada. And yeah, I make YouTube videos like about my whole process of like sports videography, about video editing, like a whole bunch of tutorials and that type of stuff. And just like game day vlogs and just hanging out and learning about cameras and doing things together, chopping it up, having fun. And like I do that all around Toronto. I also like work professionally like in the sports video space. Like I take on a bunch of different freelance clients and I've worked for some major leagues like in Canada. And yeah, just like hanging out, having a good time, making videos that can help share what I do with everybody else.
Essentially, Peter is the Greek version of me on YouTube, except more handsome and more subscribers.
A little bit taller.
And also taller. Don't get it twisted. I am sitting up high right now to be at his high level, because if I go like this, I'm very short. But anyways, everyone who didn't know me on camera now knows I'm short. But anyways, today what we're going to do is we're just chilling. We're having some coffees, and we asked on Instagram a little Q&A, just a general Q&A about us and working the sports creative scene. We've been at this for a long time now, and we get questions all the time, and we thought it would be appropriate just to do a general Q&A, have some coffee. Maybe I'll title this like Coffee and Q&A or something, Coffee and Chill. I don't know. Anyways, we did get quite a number of responses, and so we're going to go through the best questions and answer them to the best of our abilities. Thank you to everyone who asked a question.
I put this poll in my story 2 hours ago, so shout out to the people who caught that early.
Yes. Because it was between this and a live stream, and everyone wanted a video, so this is why we're here. Okay. We're going to go through the questions here. The first one I think that caught your eye was by Frames by Henry. How do you find gigs and jobs? And I'm going to say specifically in the sports industry.
This is a little bit trickier for me because I've been working full time for like the past 6 years or so in the sports space. So I can speak, like I could speak to the freelancing, and I do freelance a bit, but you freelance a lot more than me. So I can speak to how I find jobs on like a permanent or semi-permanent basis, when most of the time, like this is not rocket science at all, but like I've got most of my jobs by just applying like it's a regular job application.
There's not really rocket science to it at all.
Yeah, like don't get me wrong. When you're in that job application, like you can apply to a job and go through the process. And I think the most important thing when you're interviewing is just like be well researched and like make sure you really know your stuff. Like read over the job description of a job and like match your experiences and your skills to every point in that job description. Find a specific example of everything, like for every single one of those, so you're ready. And then like when you go into that interview and you have samples of your work ready and you have like your experiences all lined up and how you can apply them to the job, you can speak to that, then you're in a better position to succeed. And even if you don't get that job, it creates a positive impression on somebody in the industry.
You never know when they're going to hit you back up for something you need.
That can set you up for freelance work. That can set you up for possibly a job down the road. Like everyone
you meet is important. Everyone you talk to and you connect with, and even if it's a no from a job or a gig, like there's still people you want to keep in contact with.
Yeah, absolutely. And I've gotten freelance opportunities from jobs that I applied for that didn't work out. And that's happened multiple times. So I'm not saying go get freelance gigs by applying to full-time jobs and crashing out. Don't do that. But like, you know, if you want to work full-time in this industry, you like the idea of a more salaried profession.
Shoot your shot.
Shoot your shot. Just come prepared.
Like I always tell people, like people will be like, oh, I'm nervous to like apply to this job because I don't think I have the credentials, or I don't think I have. I'm like, how do you know? How do you know if you don't try? I think on my end though, when it comes to, you know, I think I've again, similar to Peter, I've been working full time in this industry now since 2022. 2021 ish. It's been, I've been at the NHL now for my full-time opportunity. I'm going on my 4th season, but I'm still finding opportunities in the freelance space. And the best way I find those opportunities is, see, there's a difference between the full-time and the freelance things. A lot of the time, the freelance opportunities will come to you. You will get them. Full-time jobs,
That depends.
It depends.
You caveat that for people who aren't as established.
yeah, but I think it comes to you if you're doing very specific things. It's not just going to appear. You have to share your work. You have to showcase what you're doing. Put yourself out there online. It's not just going to come on your doorstep if you're not doing the back end work of like marketing yourself through social media or whatever methods you want. When it comes to the jobs, sometimes they come to you, but you really have to go look for them. And when you find them, just shoot your shot. And again, it's a lot of back end work. It's not just hanging in a resume. You need to have a portfolio. You might need to have a reel. You might need to have a dozen other things.
I would actually go as far as to say that someone who's also been on the hiring end where I'm like sifting through applications to look for a position. The resume barely matters.
It does not.
The cover letter doesn't matter. I might not even read it. And the portfolio is quite literally everything.
Yeah. I had someone actually recently message me, do you have a resume? And I'm like, yes, but like really I haven't used it in over 5 years. Like I really, even when I'm applying for things like freelance stuff, people are just like, send me your reel, send me your portfolio.
Yeah, for freelance stuff, nobody cares about it.
I'm shooting an Ironman triathlon this weekend, which super cool. Never done it before, but like they didn't care about my previous experience. They care about my reel and what I can shoot and what I can do. That's it.
Yeah.
So I think that's a really good answer of finding gigs and jobs. To kind of sum it up is with comes full-time jobs, you got to go look for them. You got to just shoot your shot. Don't be afraid. The worst thing they can say is no. And for freelance stuff, you got to build the back end work. You got to build yourself. You are your own best cheerleader. Like you have to market yourself as the best person for the opportunity, showcase what you do and showcase that you're passionate about it too.
Yeah.
It's like, I think that's a really big thing that gets you and I opportunities. Like we show online very plainly, we are passionate about working in this industry and that we love to do it. And that translates to our work.
Yeah. So something that like is surprising, as being a surprising benefit of YouTube is it markets me. I never even thought about that. Like I just like making YouTube videos. I just wanted to like make them and like have and like share what I do. But like posting on YouTube makes people think of me for freelance jobs because they see the process of what I do and they see the final output. And I'm establishing myself as like an expert in a specific subject area. And then people want me for that. So maybe like you can niche yourself down as much or as little as you want. I've niched myself down pretty hard.
We both have, yeah.
It establishes us as like experts in a specific area, and then people come to us for that specific thing.
Yeah,
which is not something that I expected from YouTube necessarily. But like no matter where you post it or how you share your work,
it's I think because we started YouTube just because we want to help people. And I think it becomes a thing where like I've also had like the last two opportunities, like the major projects I've taken on freelance wise being Seneca and then another one that I can't talk about right now. Both of them have come because people found me on YouTube, liked my videos, and actually were like people who watched it and then said, we want to hire you because they know it gives you a sense of who we are.
Yes.
You know, it's not like we're meeting for the first time. Like I'll hop on a call, like your YouTube videos are great. I'm like, okay, so you know everything you need to know about me. It also removes the whole thing of like introducing yourself. But yes, YouTube is also...
That doesn't make the advice here go start a YouTube channel.
Yeah, no, you don't have to, but I'm saying it's worked for us. But that was a great question. Thank you again to Frames by Henry. When did you start filming and why did you start? And I think this is a good question because everyone asks how you start. So let's just get it out of the way. I started shooting sports video back in university. Long story short, before school, never shot photos, never used a camera in my life. I didn't really know I wanted to be in this. Through school, went to Ryerson for sport media here in Toronto. And I will very plainly say like the program was not the reason I'm successful at this point in my career, but I had the opportunity to shoot a feature and then I picked up a camera, started shooting with it, fell in love with that, with the editing process. It went from doing school projects to working with that school athletic department, did that for 4 years. And then, you know, after school was done, I just opened myself up to other opportunities. I was working like 3 different jobs while I was in my 4th year at school while doing my thesis. And I simply just started because I realized I like storytelling and I like sports and I wanted to combine the two. And, you know, in the gist of it was through school and those kind of just like, I had to do a project and I just found out I really liked filmmaking and videos and editing. And, you know, that's kind of why I started and why I continue to do it is to tell those stories just at a higher level than what I was doing at 7 years ago. Yeah.
So my story was a lot different how I got into this filmmaking thing. I was in business school actually, and I got to the end of business school and graduated. So I have a useless business diploma now, but, I went on an exchange program when I was in business school, and my parents had given me like a GoPro to just like, you know, film a couple things while I was on exchange. In a different
always a
country,
GoPro.
like whatever. So like they were like, yeah, maybe he'll like use this to film like a cute video here and there. I ended up filming like everything and making 45 YouTube videos over the course of a year, which are now all on a private channel because they're all terrible and cringe, and you can't watch them.
You should make that like a premium subscriber access.
If I hit 1 million subscribers, I'll release all of
Go
them.
subscribe so he drops cringy content.
But yeah, so I did all those videos, and like they were all bad videos, but it got me like thinking like, wow, I really like making videos. Could I do this for a living? So then I graduated business school, and the next semester I was in film school. And I did 1 year of film school at a college, another year and a half of film school at the same university that Juan went to for 4 years and graduated from. And this entire time I like started in sports because I was like a perennial like jock through high school. I played like every sport, and like my main sport was basketball. So like my old basketball coaches that hit me up and like saw us film and stuff, and I wanted to like film for their youth league. So I started filming videos for like this youth basketball league in Toronto, and that's how I first like got my start in sports. And that kind of, I was able to like make sick youth basketball videos for like whatever youth basketball expectations are, and then grow that into like college level stuff and then pro level stuff. And over the course of the years, like doing all these things that I found fun, and like being in school and like just grinding and like working on my craft outside of the classroom, you know, you get to a point where you're good enough, and then I just dropped out and started working when I was good enough. And then the CEBL stuff, which is all on my YouTube channel, and now the CFL stuff, which is also all on my YouTube channel.
Yeah, you've seen the progression online.
Yeah.
It really is just like we get a camera. It's kind of earth rate. It was like you get your first camera, you realize you like it, and you're like, can I make a living out of this? And you do.
Yeah, well, or you don't, and then you do something else.
Yeah, and then you figure it out. There's actually a follow-up question. There's a question that really connects really well that I'm just going to hop right to.
Yes.
What is the best way to get opportunities to film football in Toronto? Do exactly what Peter just said. Go and shoot youth football.
This isn't even just Toronto. This
is anywhere.
How to shoot any sport anywhere.
Yes, how to shoot any sport in any city. Go to your local clubs, whether it's like U12 or House League or men's Sunday night beer league hockey or soccer. If you have zero on your portfolio, just go shoot something. And that way you're going to build a reel. That reel will get you opportunities, and then you'll get opportunities to shoot at higher levels. Like that's kind of how we did it. I shot university sports. He shot youth sports. We built up the work, and bang, professional sports knocked on the door, and now we're here.
Yeah, or we knocked on the door for.
Or we knocked on the door. Yeah.
Whatever. Either way. Yeah.
But yeah, no, that's kind of both answers in one. Thank you to Logan Combs, and I think that was Eli Karan. I'll let you pick the next one. What is the best bang for your buck Sony camera? I'm a fourth year filming sports, second post-grad / freelance. A lot of Sony options out there. We're both Sony guys, so apologies to the Canon, Nikon, and the et cetera people.
But all camera brands are good. We just happen to shoot on Sony.
But it's fine. No, they shoot really good photo. I just can't recommend it for video. Everyone who has a Nikon just unsubscribed. Anyways, we're going to just talk about a few cameras that we had in mind. The first one I want to talk about is the Sony a6700. If you aren't familiar with the a6700 line, it's their crop sensor line of cameras. This one is the most recent one. It can shoot all the way up to 4K, 120, and 1080p. It's built very much like the old A600 cameras of the past. This camera for, I think it was $1,400, just under $1,400 USD. You can essentially shoot the quality of an A7S III / FX3 in a crop sensor body. 10-bit colors, fantastic. Obviously, $1,400 is a little pricey, but I think you're getting a lot of really good features in a small camera. And I also think that when you're buying your first camera, you're going to want something that's going to last you a few years. You don't want to have to buy something else. And like, yeah, you could go get a cheap A63 or A6400, but I'm going to be honest, like the 1080p 120 that we used to have doesn't really cut it right now. So I think the A6700 for me has to be the best bang for your buck. You're getting a lot of different things in a small body. And I will just, with a caveat, it's not perfect. I haven't used it. However, it only has one SD card slot, which isn't a bad thing, but you can run into issues with data. Also, I don't know how long you can shoot 4K 120 on that thing without it overheating because it's such a small body. However, you're getting a very, very good package in quite a small body. And now I'm going to let Peter talk about his camera.
Yeah, so my best bang for your buck camera for like the image it can produce, in my opinion, is the Sony ZV-E10 Mark II. And I'm saying that slowly because there's a lot of
letters and numbers.
Other cameras from Sony with other letters and numbers that sound kind of similar. But the ZV-E10 Mark II from Sony is like $1,000. It films 4K 60 in 10-bit, and it's a tiny little vlogging camera that you can just like hold in your hand, put in your pocket, bring around with you. It has the focus breathing compensation. It's got like a better internal microphone if you wanted to like record straight to the mic.
Most likely the latest autofocus from Sony.
It's like got all the best autofocus and stuff. It's like one of the newer end cameras. Now, like obviously, like with a body this small, filming like you can't film 4K 60 in 10-bit for like extended period of time. You're going to overheat this.
Very similar
eventually.
to the A6700.
But like it's small. It's $1,000. You can produce a good image. If you're filming like short clips, it can work really well for you.
And if you're building your portfolio, like we said, to kind of get that work you want to get to, like that's all you need at the start.
Yeah. Oh, it doesn't have like the pro features. You're not running XLR audio into this.
You don't need that at the start.
Like I'm not even 100% sure this camera has a headphone jack for monitoring your audio.
Oh, really?
That said, it doesn't really matter if you're just looking to capture like
Video.
Something like this.
Yeah, exactly. So I think you have two really good options there at very similar price points. I think you have this because this only shoots up to 4K 60. So if you don't really care about 4K 120, get this one. Or if you want to pay the additional $400 and you got that, you can squeeze out a little more 1.8. The A6700 is kind of like a small step up with the 4K 120. Et cetera, et cetera. There's one more camera.
Okay.
I want to talk
about. Sorry, I had mentioned the Sony ZV-E10 Mark II comes in white. So if you're cool, you can get that one.
Yeah, it is cool. I've actually seen the ZV-E1, which is a very different camera. I'm not talking about that one in white. It looks awesome. I'm going to grab the camera I'm talking about. Please hold. Those who are familiar with my channel are going to know this guy. This is the Sony A7C Mark II. So I would put this in tier 3 of, this isn't really a budget camera, but if you do not want to go with either of these two, which are crop sensor cameras, and you want a full frame camera, this is probably the more affordable one out of all of them. I think, I can't remember exactly what the price is if you want to look it up.
Yeah, I can check that.
Yeah, so Peter's going to check on me for real quick. But this camera is essentially the A7 IV in a smaller body size. Now, it's a little bit more expensive than the last two. This one comes at $2,200, just under $2,200 American. But I'm just giving you 3 different tiers. What you're getting in this one over the other two, you are getting up to 4K 60 in 10-bit 422. You do not get 4K 120 because then it would cannibalize the A7S III and the FX3. However, it's a full frame camera. It's exactly like the A7 IV, which is one of the more popular full frame cameras. We're shooting this on an A7 IV. It's essentially an A7 IV in a small body. I shoot the 4K 60 when I use this for sports all the time, and it looks great. You don't really need 4K 120 all the time. So you got 3 different options there. You have the ZV-E10 Mark II. That is a mouthful. ZV-E10 Mark II for about $1,000. If you want to spend $400 more, you can then get the A6700. If you want to spend a little more and a little bit more future-proof investment, you can go for something like the A7C Mark II. All of these cameras, I think, are really good though because they have that 10-bit color. They can shoot up to 4K 60. Kind of along the board, they are very similar, but are good for different things.
Important to know that you will likely be buying more expensive lenses at the start if you go with the A7C Mark II option.
Yes.
But yes, all very good, very capable cameras. And obviously, it's just about assessing like what you need to do in the camera that fits your needs now.
100%. Great. This is a really interesting question from JK Shots. How do you deal when I'm going to paraphrase, how you deal with working with a sports club who loses a lot of games? This is a really interesting thing that I've actually talked to a lot of people who work in college sports, but like, how do you create content and work with a team that's not necessarily good? I'll let you go first.
I think that it's just about storytelling, no matter if your team's winning games or losing games. And there's always a story to be told. So even if you're working with a team that's like losing a lot, I think that like showing the struggle of like what the players are going through, like how much they care and how they're working towards getting better. And like if maybe there's a specific player who's like been with the team a long time, is like a fan favorite, like really passionate about the club, and you want to like talk to him about like what's going wrong right now, what he thinks the team needs to improve, what the team's doing, and like how they're like working together to like get through it. Like you can tell the story of like, hey, we're losing, but we're working on this, and like we're really passionate about it, really
putting
care.
that work.
Yeah, like fans will really appreciate seeing a story of a player who's like working really hard to like do their club better when you're going through a tough time, and then like that's how you like build fandom. You know what I mean?
It's funny because I agree with you, and I'm just gonna say, don't get me wrong. If you work with a team that wins a lot, that's a lot of fun. But the thing about sports is like there's the struggle and then the build up to get better. You know, so I think I really like that. I actually have been very lucky. I've never really had to work with a losing team or program or anything I've ever been to. But I remember seeing a Twitter video. I cannot remember who made it, but it was like a team, the person tweeted out saying, this is how we're making content because we're not having a good year. And we just need to figure out. And it was just the coach's press conference talking about the things they needed to work on, kind of what you said, overlaid with highlights of them hustling at practice. Like, you're trying to build that culture, maintain that team's culture, tell the story. So I think instead of making all these crazy hype reels of them winning games, like, put the behind the scenes. You can get a little bit more raw. Yeah. And also, what I find from people who I know who have worked with sports teams in the past that aren't really winning, and I'm not going to go to anyone specifically, but what I learned from them after speaking to them, it's like they're focusing more on player personalities, focusing more on kind of fun content. Because when, let's say you're like halfway through your season and you're not making a playoff run, and maybe your team is trading players, selling players, do stuff that the fans can enjoy. Because if the on-field product, on ice or on court product sucks, you might as well do the most with the people that you have there and make it more fun. So don't be afraid to branch out into maybe more lighthearted content. Introduce the players more to the fans, and like not focusing as much as what's going on the field, but more also off the field.
You gotta, there's a fine line to draw there, because if all you're doing is joking around on social media and team keeps losing games, the fans are just going to roast you. The fans are going to roast you and say, get back in the gym. Like, what are you doing?
Yeah, there's
like,
two sides to everything.
Yeah, but like, if you can find a good mix of like that really raw, personal, like behind the scenes content that shows how much the players care, and the more like lighthearted, fun stuff that can help take people's mind off what's happening, like between the lines.
Yeah.
Like, that's kind of what you want to try to strike, in my opinion.
Agreed.
Last question here. What's your favorite piece of advice that you've both received in your professional careers?
I've had quite a few pieces of advice that really ring true. And I'll kind of just give them really quickly. The first one off is that, like, just because you got a no now doesn't mean it's a no in the future, which kind of goes back to what we said earlier about just shooting a shot with jobs and organizations. A lot of the times when I've gotten a no, it comes back to be a yes in a certain different way. Like, I've gotten no's from teams for jobs, but then they'll bring me on a as a freelancer. And that also ties in with, like, the answer is always going to be no until you ask. A really good example of that is last summer, I shot my shot with Canada Soccer. I wanted to shoot them, and they say, we can't pay you, but you're more than welcome to come out. And you are sure I took that opportunity, as you guys know. So those are kind of two pieces of advice that kind of go hand in hand, is you never know until you ask. And also, like, at the end of the day, a no is never, like, the door is never fully shut. The one other piece of advice, while you keep thinking, and this is actually from a podcast that I did with Lucas Shashang, and this has always rung with me since he said it, and I've taken it to heart, is, and you may or may not disagree, but don't have a plan B. If you really, really want to do this, if you really want to work in this industry, have a plan A and stick with it for as long as you can stick with it. Because I feel like a lot of people, when they have like that safety net of like a part-time job or something they can fall back onto, you won't be able to dedicate as much time to this. If you really want to do what me and Peter do, or you really want to work in sports or media, period, go at it with everything you can. I'm not saying quit your job. You got to pay for rent, put food on the table, do what you got to do to survive. But if you really, really want it, make that your primary objective. Do not have a backup plan. Like, if you want to work in this industry, go for it. Like, I think that's very true for both of us. Like, we've always kind of went in and just grabbed it and hung on for dear life.
Yeah, I think you have to. Like, I'm not going to stand on the advice of don't have a plan B.
That's right.
But
that's yeah,
I do think you have to just like grab the bull by its horns.
Yeah,
like metaphorically speaking, and just like really go for it. And like, if you have a plan B, put that thing on pause for a little bit.
Yeah,
and like that was just yeah. Like I got a business degree. I can fall back on a job with it. Like that would pay the bills, but like I'm not going to. Like, I'd rather like eat ramen and oats for 3 weeks before I did that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like to an extent, but I think mine is just like say yes until you can say no.
Yeah.
And it's something that I had to keep with me a lot of the times when I was first starting out. Like, now obviously as well, like all the time. But when I was first starting out, sometimes it's like you haven't had a day off in like 2 weeks, and you want to just like have a lazy day and like
play video games,
recharge, right? Yeah, you don't want to feel burnt out. But like, that great opportunity comes along, and like, you don't know if it's like a one-off that's never going to pan into anything, or it's going to be the opportunity that changes your career. Like, you can never like you can't ever like paint all the steps forward. You can only like look back on everything and see how all the dots connect going backwards.
That's really, really good.
So like, to just say yes to everything as much as you can until you're in a position where you're doing so well for yourself that you have to start saying no. Like, I think that's the best thing you can do for yourself when you're trying to make it and just starting out in the industry.
No, I think that's really, really well said. I also do think the counter, and like I agree with you, but kind of how you kind of give a counterpoint, but I'm going to give a counterpoint to yours. Say yes with the caveat that these opportunities benefit you, because at a certain point you got to start saying no, because if you start saying yes to things, you're going to burn out really quickly. Like, say yes up until you can, but do not say yes to the degree where you won't be able to handle the work. A really good recent example.
That would be until you can say no.
Until you can say no. And sometimes saying no is the best thing you can do. I'll give you an example though. Like I actually just referred you to an opportunity that got sent my way, and it's very in line. It's sports related. It's in line with what I do, and I really wanted to do it. But then I look at like my like planner of things I need to do. One, I have a full-time job which requires my attention from 8 hours a day. Two, I have like 3 other small projects, personal and client work that I'm currently doing, and I just also have to live my life. And so I could have said yes to this job, but I know very well if I did, my mental health and my physical health are going to suffer, because I'm just going to put all this energy into work. And instead, I'm just like, you know what? I think I can pass on this one. At the end of the day, it was an opportunity that I would have liked, but I can live without. And I just passed it on to Peter, and Peter was more than happy to take it. So sometimes saying no doesn't just help you, but it helps someone else. I get a little bit more peace of mind and not crazy stress all the time. And Peter gets some money.
And Juan probably gets the next job that I can't say yes to.
So again, it's really all a balancing game. And I will say one more thing about this. Working for free is a very touchy subject. I will say yes to free things if they can push you further in your career.
I think that you need to consider the value of your work, not just from a monetary perspective,
but like from a networking perspective, from a like, have you shot this level yet? No. Like if you were to go shoot an MLS game for $0, like let's say an MLS team reached out to you and you've never shot pro soccer, go do that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because 1, looks great on a portfolio. 2, you've shot a professional soccer game. And 3, you do not know who you'll meet at that game. And that person you meet at that game, whoever it is, wherever they work, might hire you. You don't know.
Yeah.
Like that's the other thing. One last thing, and I'm going to wrap it up. The best piece of advice, the literal best piece of advice I've ever gotten in my career is be a nice person.
Yeah.
Like above all. And I just posted a podcast about this, and I had my guests there say it too, like above everything, it doesn't matter how talented you are with a camera or editing or directing or whatever. Be a good person. Like that above everything is kind of like the last thing I'll say.
No, that's it, man. Like no one's trying to work with someone who like isn't enjoyable to be around. We want to spend our time with people who we actually want us like spend time with in like our off time. Yeah. So like if you're that person, then you're more likely to just get jobs.
If you're gonna be hired, you're gonna be with a team of people for like 6-7 hours at a game. Like you're gonna want to be good to be around, like easy to work with, and also just like very like genuine. No one really wants to work with people who aren't genuine. So just above all, like another good piece of advice, just be a good person. All right, cool. We're going to wrap it up here. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you got to this point in the video, please, if you guys haven't yet, go check out Peter's channel. We just dropped a video as well. Please go check it out. Give it a like. Give this video a like as well. Subscribe to myself if you haven't. Go and sub to Peter. Peter, any last words? Where can the people find you if they want to follow you?
Yeah, Peter Sarellas on YouTube. It's in the description. Add P Sarellas everywhere else. I'm only really on Instagram. Yeah, that's it.
Awesome. Thank you guys for watching, and we'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.